We'll get started in just 1 minute here. There's still people rolling in.
Excited to see so many people joining today. This is
Yeah.
fantastic. This is great.
Hey, Terry, whenever you're ready, I think we can
Okay, great.
start then.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome. Today is our second webinar, exhibitor webinar. Exhibit smarter, build a strategic and compliant presence. So, thank you for joining us today. Before we get started, I want to thank each of you for your continued support of AOPA and for exhibiting this year at the 2026 National Assembly. Your participation helps make the Assembly the premier event in O&P of the year, bringing together professionals, practitioners, suppliers, manufacturers, and innovators from all across the profession. We appreciate you and your investment in the event, and we look forward to seeing you in Las Vegas in September. As you prepare for the Assembly, it's important to ensure that your exhibiting strategy not only helps you connect with attendees and achieve your business objectives, but also aligns with applicable compliance and regulatory considerations. That's why we're pleased today to have with us AOPA's Director of Policy and Regulatory Affairs, Joe McTernan. Joe will share important compliance considerations and business insights that can impact your exhibiting efforts and overall company strategy, helping you maximize your investment while avoiding any potential pitfalls. At AOPA, we are committed to providing exhibitors with the tools that you need, resources and information, anything you need to succeed. And today's webinar is part of that commitment to you. We encourage you to take advantage of today's opportunity to learn and to ask us questions. We thank you for joining us and for your support always. On to the presentation. But before we start, I would like to turn it over to Ashley Van de Bunte, AOPA's Director of Meetings and Education, for some specifics on how you can maximize your participation at the Assembly this year. Ashley?
Terry, I'm Ashley Van de Bunte. I'm the Director of Meetings and Education here at AOPA. I am filling in for Kelly today. Glad to be here with you all. Before we start, I wanted to share a few updates and opportunities for AOPA exhibitors and sponsors of this year's National Assembly. We are excited to kick off the National Assembly Exhibit Hall with the All In on O&P Welcome to Las Vegas reception on Wednesday night. This year, we will be hosting an exhibit booth Spirit Night on Wednesday, where exhibitors will dress in a Vegas theme and compete for prizes for the best theme and costumes. And then returning for the second year, we have the new product showcase. So if you have a new product that you'd like to highlight, this is a great opportunity. We'll also have some prizes available there as well. And additionally, there is a new opportunity this year to be on the Vegas theme of our jackpot scratch off game in the hall. Each morning, as attendees exit the general session, they will receive an AOPA scratch off card, and they'll scratch the card to reveal whether they won a prize. Winning cards will feature a participating exhibitor's company name and booth number. Attendees must then visit the specific exhibitor's booth to redeem their prize, which will help generate more traffic to your booth. And finally, we have the digital showcase on Saturday, which is a great free opportunity for exhibitors to share their products. The showcase features 3 case studies, and exhibitors show how their product or service would work for these case studies. On theme again with Vegas, we're doing a special wild card case study this year. The digital showcase is Saturday from 11 to 1 and allows attendees to get 2 credits for attending. So that helps drive traffic to the room so they can see your products. Additionally, attendees will vote on the winner for the Best in Digital Showcase, and this is a completely free opportunity for you to participate in, and one of the many benefits of being an AOPA exhibitor. To sign up for any of these, you can use the quick links within the exhibitor portal, or you can email Kelly, and she'll be happy to help you with that. We're looking forward to a great show. Your housing and registration information should have been sent to you as well. Again, if there's any questions, Kelly or I can help you with that. And just a few housekeeping tips as we start this webinar. Please put all your questions in the Q&A, and we will do our best to get through them as we go, and we'll also do kind of a Q&A at the end as well. And finally, we will share this recording with you all at the end. Now, with that, I am pleased to introduce Joe McTurnan as our speaker today. He is currently Director of Policy and Regulatory Affairs for the American Orthotic and Prosthetic Association. He also served as AOPA's Manager of Reimbursement from 1996 until 1998. From 1998 until 2005, he served as Director of Regulatory Affairs for Hanger Prosthetics and Orthotics in Bethesda, Maryland. Mr. McTurnan holds a BS degree in biology from James Madison University, located in Harrisonburg, Virginia. He authors articles for the O&P Almanac and contributes to the AOPA and Advanced Smart Brief newsletter, in addition to participating in frequent AOPA seminars regarding coding, billing, compliance, and other Medicare issues. And with that, Joe, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Ashley, and thanks, Terry. Yeah, as Ashley and Terry both said, I am the Director of Policy and Regulatory Affairs here at AOPA. I've been with AOPA for almost all of my career, going on 23 or 24 years now, and it's an honor to have the opportunity to serve the incredible folks that do such great work for the O&P field every single day. Really something that I enjoy tremendously. So, I'm amazed at how many folks are joining us today, and I'm pleased that obviously this is a topic that is of importance to you all. And that you want to understand how you can absolutely maximize your marketing opportunities at events like the AOPA National Assembly, but also some things that you should really think about when you are setting up your booth, setting your strategy for your exhibiting process, just to kind of make sure you don't necessarily run afoul of some things like antitrust violations, any potential violations of coding, of billing, just some strategies. And what I tried to very much do when putting together this presentation was I do not want to spend the next 30 minutes or so scolding all of you. There's no reason for that. You all are very good at what you do. All of you are capable of selling products, which is why you're in the roles with your organizations that you are. I don't sell products. I sell AOPA, I guess, as a service, but I don't sell products every day. So I am not going to pretend that I'm going to come on here and just give you, tell you how to market your product successfully. You all know how to do that very well. But what I do want to do is I want to actually create some conversation and maybe some back and forth, some open discussion about things that you should just be thinking about when you're building your booth strategies and what can get some people talking in maybe a negative light if they start to see some things. So with that, I'm going to go to our first slide, and our first two slides are really about participation. So I'm going to put everybody here on the spot. I'm going to put a couple questions out there that I think are going to frame a lot of what we're going to talk about. So our first question for today, if I can get my slides to advance here, there we go, is a pretty obvious one. Why do you exhibit at the National Assembly? And Kelly will probably come back to me and say, "Why did you ask that question?" But I think it's an important question to ask. So I'm gonna ask somebody and anybody, frankly, to take a leap here and be willing to turn your microphone off mute and give an opinion on why you think it's important and why your company might decide to exhibit at the National Assembly. What's the reasoning? Why do you do it? Anybody?
All right.
Oh, come on,
Like,
somebody's got to be daring. Let's go.
yeah. I think it's just being able to see people in person from all over the country all at once and being able to expose our products to them and them being able to get their hands on them.
Eric,
Easier
that's
to
awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And you're with College Park. You've been exhibiting with us for as long as I've been in O&P. If I can share an anecdote, one of the things that I remember specifically about College Park, and you may or may not have been part of this. This is going back quite a ways, but
Mhm.
College Park, when I was first coming into O&P, you guys in your booth had walking boots set up with your
All right.
prosthetic feet on the bottom of it and ramps and steps. And someone like me who is not an amputee could try on and try your actual prosthetic feet and walk around and kind of have a feel for that experience. So that's one thing I remember specifically about College Park. And I don't know if you still do it, but it sticks in my mind from years ago. So like
Write
you
that
said,
down. Bring the boots again.
yeah, it impressed me,
Nice.
and it was an opportunity that I don't would never had otherwise. So, right.
Excellent.
Anybody else? Anybody else want to share why your company specifically exhibits at the National Assembly?
Scott put exposure in the chat too.
Okay, fantastic. So yeah, I don't want to keep putting people on the spot here, but yeah, one of the reasons why people exhibit at the National Assembly, and this is going to be a little self-serving, but I think it's okay. It is the premier event. It is the largest trade show. It is the trade show where the most attendees come every single year, and they are there in part because they want to learn about your products and they want to see what's new, what's different, what's exciting. And frankly, they want to talk to your reps and to you to figure out what's new and what is going on and what's unique about your products that are going to best impact the patients that they treat. So we very, very much appreciate everybody, but it's an important question to ask yourself as you move forward because that will then answer the question of how do you best frame your products in a light that's going to make people want to buy them, right? So it is a trade show. It is, I mean, there's a lot of education available, but a very, very large part of the National Assembly, it is a trade show. It's an opportunity for this profession to come together in one place. This year it'll be Las Vegas and learn about the various products that are out there. You are out there for hours a day talking about your products and making the most out of that time. So I'm going to take another question here and I'm going to ask another question. Who is your target audience? So who wants to take the leap on that one? Who are you trying to sell your products to?
I'll answer it. My name is Lisa. I work for Exobionics. We
Okay.
are an exoskeleton company, and the people that we are targeting at your conference are physicians and physicians' assistants.
So, Lisa, that's great because that is not necessarily the typical target audience at an AOPA event. Obviously, you're going to have more certified prosthetists and orthotists, but Exobionics as an exoskeleton company, you are there. Your product is not what I would call necessarily traditional O&P, but it is absolutely becoming more and more part of the O&P universe every year. And there are going to be groups of physicians that are intentionally at our show to learn more about O&P so that they are able to then work with those devices and those products within that market. So that's a great answer.
Yeah, and then
Anybody else? Anybody
are
want to talk
also
about the more
primary.
traditional
Yeah, also physicians.
practitioner-based audience that you're targeting? Okay, so I'm gonna move on and just be thinking about that as we go through the next series of questions and thoughts and slides here. But yes, I mean the target audience, I would have expected that the immediate answer on target audience was going to be orthotists and prosthetists, because that is the vast majority of folks that are going to be in the hall. They come to the assembly not only to see the newest products and the latest developments and products, but they do come for education. And that's why we are very intentional about making sure that there is unopposed time in the hall for folks to come and see what is the new products and what are available so that you're not competing the entire time with educational opportunities. So that is very, very intentional. That is very well put together by our assembly committee every year to make sure that there is dedicated time. But it also is worth asking the question and worth thinking about who else is in the hall and how does that impact how you set your booth strategy. And these are the people that you may not be thinking about, but I guarantee you, whether you realize it or not, these are people that you are going to be talking to in Las Vegas throughout the week. There are going to be CMS employees in that room. CMS is the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. That is the federal government agency that has responsibility for operating the Medicare and Medicaid programs in this country. Medicare is the federal insurance program. Medicaid is a joint program between the federal government and state governments. So you are going to have, it may only be a handful, but you are going to have a number of direct CMS employees, including CPOs. There are multiple CPOs right now that work directly for the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. You are going to absolutely have Medicare contractors. In fact, many of them are going to be your fellow exhibitors. We typically have tables set up, exhibit tables for all four of the DME MAC contractors and their representatives, including their medical review staff, their provider outreach and education teams. But there will also be Medicare contractors that are going to be walking the halls, and they may or may not immediately be divulging that they are who they are. These are going to be some names, and we're going to cover this a little bit later. There are going to be some names that you know because they have been long time O&P community members that have worked in private practices, that have worked for some of our larger members, and are now, for whatever reason, they have now moved over into the DME MAC side, and they are either working for contractors like the DME MACs or sometimes the PDAC. Folks are going to move from position to position to position. So you are certainly going to have Medicare contractors in the hall. You are going to have state Medicaid employees and or contractors that are in the hall. There are going to be folks from all of the major insurance companies in that hall, whether they are full-time employees, whether they are contractors, whether they are moonlighting. Those folks are going to be in the hall, and we're gonna get to this in a little bit. But it is always in your best interest to an exhibitor to make sure that you are not saying things or making points that are I don't want to say negative, that are going to be viewed in a poor light by somebody that might represent an insurance company that you're not aware of. So, if you want to say, well, XYZ insurance companies' rates are just terrible, and we know they are, be aware that you might might unwillingly be talking to somebody that is compensated in some way by that particular insurance company, and that's a pretty easy way to put a bad taste in their mouth. So just be aware of that. There are going to be referral sources. So, Lisa, you mentioned you work with Exobionics. Your target audience for this meeting is primarily physicians. There are going to be physicians at our meeting getting education, wanting to learn more about O&P so that they and then in turn can make better informed decisions about where they're going to be sending their patients. It is a different discussion with a physician who is potentially a referral source for your customers than it is that you're going to be having with your customers. So it's all things to keep in mind. It is not one size fits all, and you may not always know exactly who it is you're talking to. And yes, your competitors are going to be in the hall, and they are going to be very, very much paying attention to your products. We are a small field. We are primarily a relatively friendly field, but we are also a competitive field. And so there are going to be competitors that are going to be fellow exhibitors. There may be competitors that are there just to kind of get a feel for what products are on the market that are not theirs, that are potentially impacting their market share. So yeah, I mean, it's just all these things are things to consider when you are building your strategy among your internal marketing teams as to how to best represent your products in a way that does not put you in a negative light or put you in potentially a negative competitive advantage. So, sorry, I got a frog in my throat here. Forgive me. So now is the part where I want to talk about some things that you should consider and try to do it in a way that does not come across as scolding. Trust me, that is not my goal. I do not want to tell you how to operate your marketing strategies or your booth strategies, but I think there's some valuable thoughts and some things for discussion. And if anybody has some thoughts at any point during all this, it's a small enough group, feel free to come off mute and speak up and share your experience, share your thoughts, say that, Joe, you're full of baloney here, and this is why. I'm willing to have that discussion all day long and welcome any feedback that other folks have to bring this more conversational than me just talking at you for the next 20, 25 minutes or so. Um, but one of the things that we see a lot in the halls over the years, and it's something to really think about and balance when you are having discussions, is advertising profit margins. So I have seen on multiple occasions through the years printed materials in signs, very, very prevalent, right in front of the booth that says, "Hey, if you bill this product to Medicare, or if you bill this product to insurance, this is how much you can expect to make. This is your profit opportunity." Now, I acknowledge and understand that that is a very, very strong selling point when you are marketing your products. If you can represent to your customers that if they purchase your product, that reimbursement is favorable, then that is absolutely a strategy all day long. What I think we have to be careful about is how you communicate that. So I think that is a much better situation for conversations within the booth when you are involved in conversations with either existing customers or potential customers that you are comfortable with and that you have relationships with. And you say, "Hey, there's some new products out. There's some opportunities for some reasonable profits here. Here's some of the numbers." And again, those conversations are expected, and I wouldn't discourage you from having those conversations with your customers. But I would caution and I would be aware of openly advertising that in open space, especially based on the information that was on the previous slide that I presented as to who might be walking past that booth, who might be just kind of strolling by and taking a look, and the first thing they see is an advertisement that says, "This is how much money you can make if you build this product." It can become a double-edged sword when Medicare, especially, who sets Medicare fee schedule amounts, when they start looking at ways to reduce prices per se. That it's just been shown to leave a little bit of bad taste in their mouths when they see these big signs and these big advertisements. So just something to think about as far as how you advertise and how you have those conversations. Not saying that you shouldn't have those conversations when they're appropriate, but just be aware of it as you're building your marketing strategy, especially your printed materials that you're going to be either handing out or potentially putting up in prevalent places in your booth. Any questions, concerns, thoughts about that anybody wants to share before we move on to the next concept? Okay, so I can only see about 3 of you. So if you have them and you want to speak up, I'll give it a second, and then I'll move on to our next suggestion here. Okay, so a second thing that I've seen over the years, and again can be something you need to that you should be considering when building your marketing strategy, is maximizing codes, the number of codes that can be billed for your product in your marketing materials. So this goes 2 ways. There's 2 things that I think you need to be considering in this scenario. I don't even recall what manufacturer this was, but I do recall the scenario from probably 15 years ago. There was a very, very prevalent advertisement for a product at a National Assembly one year where this company was not even advertising the brand name of the product in the most prevalent space. What they were advertising in the most prevalent space on their printed material, which anybody could pick up at the table and walk away with, and then share with whoever they wanted to, was called the 6-code brace. And so this advertising material, this marketing material, was almost entirely focused on the fact that you could bill 6 different L codes with one representing one product. And there are many, many products out there that have 4, 5, 6 edition codes that are absolutely appropriate, that are designed to be billed in that way. But when you move to that as a marketing strategy and saying, look, if you buy this product, you can bill X number of L codes, which inevitably leads to the next statement, which represents X amount of value, X amount of profit margin. That can become a very, very slippery slope. Not only because it is advertising in a way that it's just focused on how many codes you can bill, and we all know we're in a universe where CMS is intentionally reducing the number of edition codes to the point where it's very, very uncommon now that for off-the-shelf orthotic codes, and few, if any, edition codes are even being considered anymore. That is a trend that we see, and by advertising, yes, you can bill this product using this number of codes, and maximizing that number is going to create some thoughts about, well, maybe we're not doing enough. Maybe we need to be reducing the codes even further than we are, and that's not a place we want to be. We want to make sure that that the code set as it was designed 40 or 50 years ago as a base/edition code system is used in an appropriate way, and that edition codes remain available when they are appropriate to describe, the full complement of a brace or of a prosthesis, so that you don't have a code set that has 10,000 codes, and you can use the proper set of both base and edition codes. But the other thing that comes into play here with maximizing codes is now if you are advertising that your one product can be billed using this entire list of codes, unless that code set, unless all of those codes, and I mean all of those codes, have been verified by the PDAC, you potentially could be opening yourself up for liability claims down the road. So just be aware, not all products require coding verification by PDAC. There are certain sets of codes that must be PDAC verified in order to be used. And if anybody needs a list of those, we can be happy. We're happy to provide those. I think we have sections of our website where that's all well documented, either on our website or on the co-op that lives on our website. But if you are going to advertise codes, really the only way to be fully confident that you have the ability to offer these codes is to make sure that your product has been PDAC verified, because the PDAC is the only entity that has the ability and the right and the deemed authority to be the coding authority, so to say, for CMS. So that's just another thing to think about is advertising openly about how many codes you can bill for a particular product. Again, you can certainly have those conversations with customers that you have very strong trusted relationships with. But we're gonna talk a little bit in a minute about making sure you know that those relationships are exactly what you think they are. So any thoughts, questions, concerns? Joe, you're full of baloney that anybody wants to bring up before we move on to next? All right. So continuing on the PDAC theme, make sure you understand what the value of the PDAC is and what the PDAC actually does. So the PDAC it's an acronym, one of the alphabet soup of Medicare acronyms that exist in our universe. The PDAC stands for Pricing, Data Analysis, and Coding Contractor. So the PDAC is a contracted role with the Medicare program. It is currently and has been for the last several years has been a contract that was awarded to a company called Palmetto GBA, which is Palmetto. The GBA stands for Government Benefits Administrators. And if you read between the lines, the palmetto tree is very, very common as a symbol for the state of South Carolina. And government benefit administrators is just another fancy way of saying we are an insurance company that is large enough that we have a separate business entity that does nothing but federal government contract work. So GBA, Government Benefit Administrators, CGS used to at one point stand for Cigna Government Services. They are no longer a Cigna affiliated company. Now it's Solarian, I think is their name. But all of the DME Max and now the PDAC, they are all subsidiaries of much larger insurance companies that we all recognize the names of. In this case, Palmetto, South Carolina, GBA, Government Benefit Administrators. That is a very common acronym for Blue Cross Blue Shield lines of business. So if you put two and two together, you get South Carolina, you get Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's not a far leap to understand that the PDAC is a division of Blue Cross and Blue Shield of South Carolina, has been for years. They were also and still remain part of the contracting group that also issues Medicare supplier numbers. You'll find very quickly that there are only a handful of these insurance companies that are large enough to be able to have the infrastructure to perform the requirements of these very, very large, in-depth government contractors. Most of them are some form of a division of the Blues, or in the case of Jurisdiction A and Jurisdiction D, Meridian, which I believe is somehow tied into the Blues as well. But understand what the PDAC does. So the PDAC, and I think everybody understands the coding part of the PDAC. Coding, meaning that they are the deemed government agency or government contractor that has final say and final authority in coding verification. So if you have a product that you want to be confident in the coding of, you have the right to either on a voluntary basis, which anybody can do at any time, or it could be mandatory. There are certain codes and policy that require PDAC verification to be billed. That is your mandatory PDAC verification. But if you make a business decision to ask the PDAC to review one of your specific products and provide official coding verification, that is now binding. And that can be a benefit for your marketing, but that can also be a detriment to your marketing, because once PDAC makes a decision on coding and they verify and they put that product on what's called their product classification list, that decision is now absolutely 100% binding to everybody that is going to bill Medicare until that code verification is changed. Now you can go back at any point, provide additional information, and request a re-review. But any active PDAC coding verification is 100% binding on the provider community. So it's important that you know what the PDAC does, what it represents when they perform a code verification, whether it's either voluntary or mandatory, and what that ultimately means for your marketing strategy. If you have a PDAC code verification that is what I would say favorable, meaning it's a verification that truly represents your product and represents fair and adequate reimbursement in the codes that are verified, then that in itself is a marketing opportunity. And there's no harm in marketing that you have a PDAC verified product and this is the code set. If Like I said earlier, you don't want to necessarily maximize those codes, but if PDAC says your product is represented by 5 or 6 different L codes, and you want to market that you have PDAC verification, and these are the codes that PDAC is verified, I would say that's reasonable all day long. The PDAC verification, when it is favorable, is a very, very solid marketing tool. Most of you will probably hear more than one time. You'll hear patients come to you and say, or not patients, customers say, "Do you got a PDAC letter? Or do you have a PDAC letter for that?" That's what they're asking you. They want to see that PDAC coding verification because that tells them that they are not going to get questioned, at least on the coding of the product that they are providing. So obviously that has a marketing strategy and an advantage. But when we're talking about PDAC, also understand there is 2 other parts to this acronym, and that is pricing and data analysis. The PDAC is constantly reviewing uh, pricing trends. And they are constantly crunching data to make sure that Medicare rates are reasonable and fair and are current with what is being out there in the market. So understand if you are advertising, a very, very low cost versus a very, very high reimbursement, there's a good chance that there is a representative from the PDAC that might be in that hall, walking past, seeing that advertisement, and paying attention to that. And now they're going to start crunching numbers on those codes that represent your product, and that could down the road lead to decisions to either more likely lower rates through inherent reasonableness process, or potentially raise, but it's very, very rare that they will do either of those. But there are opportunities when they are doing pricing and data analysis to use data and use information that they see at things like at events like the National Assembly, that they can then use to impact prices in real time. So just be aware that the PDAC is more than just coding, although the coding is what we see in most cases, and that's what we are most used to. And we are, I think, a lot of us are familiar with the longtime CPO, a gentleman named Keith Wilson, who has been an employee of the PDAC for quite some time. But there's the medical directors currently a gentleman named Jason Stroud. He's a physician, very reasonable guy. He is almost always at our assembly. But he is not always necessarily going to openly advertise who he is and what he does. So just kind of keep that in mind as you're going through. Okay, questions about the PDAC, their role, how they can impact your products? Anybody? All right, so here's what I've been alluding to on almost every slide that we've been talking about. Whenever possible, it is so important that you recognize who it is you might be talking to, and that they may not be always who they seem to be. And I'm not saying that this is nefarious. I'm not saying that there are people on the floor that are blatantly and openly misrepresenting who they are or who they work for or what they do. But I am also saying that they are not necessarily openly advertising that they may be a consultant to, they may be employed part-time by, they may be employed full-time by insurance companies. Part of what they do and what they do well is serving as quote unquote secret shoppers, right? So they want to engage with folks and exhibitors at meetings like the AOPA National Assembly to maybe get information that is going to help them do their job better, is going to help them maybe impress their bosses, is going to give them information that they know people would be less likely to give if they knew that John Smith was, employed by United Healthcare, or John Smith was employed by Blue Cross Blue Shield, or John Smith was employed by the PDAC, or a contractor to any of those things. And before you say, well, we'll know, just beware that there are going to be people that you have probably known for years, may have worked with, may still be working with in some degree, that are potentially moonlighting or potentially doing some work on a contract basis with other groups. And you may not even think twice about it, but they are out there. There are a lot of folks that move into consulting positions when they're either between practitioner gigs, let's say, or they could even be working between manufacturer positions, and they have an opportunity through relationships that they've built over time to serve in consultant roles for either managed care companies, insurance companies, payers, etc. Obviously, I don't think you're going to see that with manufacturer to manufacturer, because that can that I think would be a potential violation of some non-compete issues or whatnot. So not necessarily there, but especially clinicians and clinical roles, there may be folks that are serving multiple roles, not just dual roles, but multiple roles in representing different companies. So just just be aware of that when you are engaging in the booth. I'm not saying that you should be suspect of everybody, and I'm not, this isn't the old. You have to tell me if you're a police officer kind of thing, because I don't think it goes to that level. But it is something to keep in mind that there may be folks that you are engaging with who are asking questions for reasons that are not just limited to their interest in a particular product. So just something to keep in mind as you build your strategy, as you build your conversations and involved in your conversations. I'm not saying be overly cautious, but it's just something to keep in mind that this is not a new trend. It is not specific to O&P. This happens in a lot of other professions, a lot of other fields, a lot of other industries. But it's just something to keep in mind when you're working with your internal teams on building your strategies. You don't want to give information out that's going to put yourself in a negative position when you're talking about your products. Okay. Any thoughts about that before we move on? Okay, quick time check here. We're doing good. All right. Next thing, and this is an interesting fact because it's not something that you may be thinking about every day as a sales rep or as a market leader or as a sales executive for your companies. But it is really, really important to understand general medical policies and what is typically covered, what is not typically covered, why it's covered, when it's covered, more importantly, when it's not covered, so that you can have reasonable conversations with your customers. And when they ask you questions, you're in a good place where you can confidently answer, what you understand to be the truth. So, knee braces, for example, for years, Medicare simply just didn't cover osteoarthritis diagnoses without affiliated or associated joint laxity. That now, fortunately, has changed. It's important that your sales reps and your teams and you as team leaders or executives, if you're on the call today, that you understand that is now an opportunity that can actually improve the ability for you to market your brace. Because if you have a single upright OA brace, and for years you had challenges of not of being limited on coverage. Now that limitation is significantly lower, and now you have a new opportunity to market that brace for a specific diagnosis. Opens up an entirely new a new field of treatment that just wasn't there before. So understanding what that means, understanding what the medical policies allow you to do, understanding what the medical policies allow you not to do, is really, really important. So it's a good idea. And they are not static things. Medical policies change all the time. And the DME Macs all have dedicated pages on their websites to what are called LCDs and policy articles. And every single one of those has a revision date. So when you review those policies, scroll all the way down to the end, scroll all the way to the bottom, and then look at the revision date, excuse me, to make sure that you understand that you are looking at a current and up-to-date document, an up-to-date medical policy. They do change all the time. There are new things being added. There are new, for example, we've had 5 codes that just got added as of April to the required prior authorization a program under Medicare. So you need to be aware of that when you're marketing products. That hey, you know what? This product, as of April 13th, this product now requires Medicare prior authorization. And oh, by the way, that's actually a good thing because it's going to give you a lot of peace of mind that Medicare, once they make an affirmation that they have reviewed this product for medical necessity, they're going to pay it. That is why this is a product that is going to be valuable to you as my client, as my customer. By understanding what that medical policy says, what it requires, and what it does for your customer, you're going to have a potential advantage over your competitors if they're not familiar with that medical policy. So take some time, get some in-services for your sales reps. Get some, if you have clinicians on staff, make sure that they're fully versed in that medical policy so that they can communicate it to your marketing teams to make sure they have an understanding of at least the basics of what is A, required by policy, and B, what is going to be beneficial and be a marketable item or marketable service for your products and for your product line when you're standing in a booth, for 6, 7, 8 hours at a time at a national meeting, like the assembly, talking about the product and when, why, and how it's covered. Okay. All right. So my next point is, and I use this term all the time. You want to underpromise and overdeliver. What you don't want to do is you don't want to tell folks something and then have them come back to you 6 weeks later when their claim is denied and say, "Well, you promised me, you told me, you said that if I did X, Y, and Z, that I was going to get paid." That can really, really put you in a bad spot, and it can really result in folks losing trust and losing confidence in your organization's marketing strategies, and question whether or not you're being above board and you're being fully honest. So it is always better to underpromise and overdeliver than it is to overpromise and underdeliver. So when you're talking about specific products for specific diagnosis codes, make sure that you're not cooking the books. Okay. If you are selling, I'm just going to pull something out of the air here. If you're selling walking boots, and you are talking about, what diagnoses these are covered for, you want to make sure that you are representing what your product does, what it is covered for, and when it's not going to be covered, or when it's going to be potentially considered not medically necessary. It's always better to not have folks come back after the fact and blame you for their claim denial. If you can be conservative in what you're offering and what you're promising, and then they end up getting more, that's always going to be better than the inverse of that. One way you can do this is it's more than just saying, "This is our product, this is what it is, and this is why it's going to help your patients." See what you can do to provide claim support for your customers. Create value add. Create opportunities to provide support and things that are going to help folks make buying decisions once they have left the National Assembly. Instill that confidence that the transaction with you does not end at the sale, that there is support available after the sale that's going to help them should they run afoul or should they run into claims processing or billing problems, that you are going to potentially be there to help them out. Again, don't promise more than you can deliver on that, but if you can underpromise and overdeliver as opposed to overpromising and then underdelivering, it's going to go just a super long way in instilling confidence in your organization, in your products, and in your support to provide service down the road. Okay. Questions, thoughts, comments on that? Okay, I think I got one or two more that I wanted to offer, and then I wanted to open up for some questions if anybody had general questions. So this is super important and just something to really, really think about when you're building your marketing strategy. So you are going to have a handful of people that are going to spend the majority of time in the booth interacting with people on the floor of the exhibit hall. And for the most part, they are going to be your sales team. Make sure and take the opportunity to give them every opportunity that they have to be educated, not only about the products themselves, but about what can impact the products when it comes to coverage, when it comes to policy, when it comes to PDAC verification. The better educated your sales team is going to be, the less likely they are going to be to overpromise and underdeliver, and the more likely they are going to be to underpromise and overdeliver. So while it can be tedious, while it can seem repetitive, making sure you have processes in place that help to make sure your sales team is truly educated, up to speed, up to date, and has a process in place that is helping them to essentially create opportunities to do this themselves as part of their regular process is really, really going to be helpful because they're the ones that are going to be motivated. They're the ones that are going to be, going to be making the sales on the actual floor of the hall. And the better educated they are about not only what your products are and what they do, which they all know probably better than all of us, but what the impact is for coding, billing, reimbursement, etc. That is going to be a true opportunity to really, really elevate your organization and your company over perhaps some of your competitors. So building that education process for your sales team, whether it's regular in services, whether it's attending seminars, and I'm not trying to be an advertisement for AOPA offerings here, but we do offer products and services and seminars that could be useful to folks that are on your sales team. But really creating that environment where they have access to really, really strong, good quality education that's going to help them do their job better. Going to help them do their job more effectively, and help them build trust and confidence and relationships with your customers. It's really, really beneficial. It will pay back in dividends hundreds of times over. Really, really would. A strongly well-educated sales rep is so valuable to your team and to your success. Okay. So the last one, and Terry, I think I can't see Terry at the moment, but I can almost see her grinning and nodding her head here, is make sure that you understand all of the antitrust. There's a thumbs up. Understand all of the antitrust regulations that impact and affect our profession, and all of us that are part of it. There are very, very strict antitrust regulations. I did not reproduce the entire AOPA antitrust policy on this slide, but AOPA, suffice it to say that AOPA does have a very, very stringent antitrust policy that we urge all of our members to follow. Just some of the highlights that is in that policy. You should not have open discussions with competitors about pricing strategies, opportunities to gain market advantage. You should not have discussions about leveraging your combined strength to take on insurance companies and try to gain more favorable treatment. We are by definition a trade association, and a trade association is essentially a group of competitors. So we are absolutely bound by federal antitrust regulations. It's just something to be very, very careful about, especially when you are not on the exhibit hall floor. I can probably say that there are more antitrust regulation violations that occur in the big bar in Chicago, or the one of the hotel bars in Atlanta or in Las Vegas, and over conversations, over a few drinks and a good time, and people start talking about things they shouldn't start talking about. So just be aware of that. Make sure that your staff is aware of that, especially if it is at an AOPA meeting. AOPA staff is very trained in identifying conversations, and unfortunately, we don't have to do it a lot, but we will step into those conversations and remind people that we are bound by antitrust regulations, especially if it's an AOPA meeting and we are hosting that meeting. We have to be especially careful as the trade association representing all of you. So again, I'm getting a little scoldy, and I don't mean to, and that's certainly not my intention. But it's very, very important. If anybody would like a copy of the antitrust policy, it's readily available on our website. We are happy to send it to anybody that would like to read through the 3 pages that it is. It is very, very important to follow, and we stand by our policy. It's been reviewed by counsel regularly, and we feel very confident that it will keep everybody out of trouble with federal antitrust laws. Okay, so now it's time. We have about 10 minutes, about 6 minutes. Sorry, I was running at the mouth a little bit, but I would love to open the floor. I'm going to stop sharing here, and I'd love to open the floor and open it up for any questions. Ashley Vandebunty, I don't know if we had any that came through the chat that need to be answered, but happy to answer any that may have come through.
I have not seen any yet, so the floor is open if anybody has any.
Okay, Lisa Bentley, I see your hand up. Is that from earlier, or do you have a comment or a question?
No, I don't have any questions or comments. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Feel free to just pop off mute and jump on, or throw it into the chat, and happy to answer any questions that anybody has. Okay, I've either been very, very thorough or everybody has fallen asleep. I don't know which one, and I hope it's the former and not the latter. I will just offer in closing that we so very, very much appreciate all of your support and your participation in these events. We found that this is our second one, and I think our participation has grown exponentially. So that's very, very encouraging to see. We are absolutely super excited for the upcoming National Assembly, and hopefully all of you will be exhibiting and participating in that event. And we are encouraged to continue this series and hope that it is valuable and that it's worth an hour out of your time, once a month or once a quarter, or however often we're going to do these. So, Terry, I don't know if you had any closing remarks that you wanted to offer.
Just wanted to say thank you again to all for joining us today. Thank you, Joe, for helping educate all of us. And we look forward to seeing you at the assembly. If you have any needs, please feel free to reach out to Ashley or Kelly directly, your first line there. And of course, to Joe and me as well. Thank you. And we look forward to seeing you in Las Vegas.
All right, we'll see everybody in Vegas.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.